Welcome, everyone. We are live today, Tuesday. Is it worth it? This was a question that someone had asked in a forum. Is it worth it? And I thought to myself, well, if it's worth it to you, what gives it its worth? You do. If there's something in your life that you want to experience, this is why you experience it in imagination as you would like to experience it in reality. That's exactly why. So you can figure out, do I even want to do this thing? That's how you do it. It's why we do it. Sometimes we get caught up in the wanting of something so much that we put the words big and small, or something is more valuable than something else. When in actuality, you are the one who gives something its worth and something its value by how much attention you give to it. When you say, look, I gotta have this or else. If this thing doesn't happen in my life, then it's not worth it. See, instead of judging the situation in such a fashion, begin to experience it in imagination so you can get a feel for it and say, that sounds good in theory, but I don't know if that's really what I want. Well, let me test it out. When you take the time to know your own mind and test your own self, we remove so much worry and fretting from our lives. Because think about it. Well, I don't know if I want that. Well, if you don't know what you want, make a decision and test it out in your mind's eye. Like when you go to a showing for an apartment, well, you're going to that thing because you want to know what it feels like to you. Is that what I want? I want something on the hill. Or if you're test driving a car, you may think you want a Tesla, you may think you want a Porsche, you may think you want a Bentley, but eh, how will you know unless you test it out? You see, we look out into the world and we think that the world is what came up with things. When, you test drive, right? No, you test drive your idea. Test drive your idea where? In your mind's eye. We are forever testing ourselves, but we don't see it. Test yourself constantly. Is that what you want? Is that what you want to experience? You take your time with these things. But sometimes we're always in a hurry. To do what and get where? Exactly. Remember, Daddy, rush the brush, you waste the paint, right? Take your time. If there's something, and it's not a matter of taking your time just because I'm moving too fast. No, you take your time to get a better sense of self. Take your time to get a better sense of yourself. That's what you're doing. So that if you say, look, I want a job, I want a new job, a new career. Okay, and where do you go from there? Well, what do you like to do? So then, in your mind's eye, if you say you want to be a secretary, and in your mind's eye, you test out being a secretary, and you're like, ding, I don't know if I like that. What would you prefer to do instead? And you test it out until you become clear about what it is you want to experience. And when you become clear about what you want to experience, that is where you commit your attention. Just commit your attention there. There's a difference, you see, between testing the waters and giving something your undivided attention, all of your love. You give your love to the thing that you truly want to do. So where are you in your day? A friend of mine said yesterday, she caught herself and she was like, "Oh man, but I always complain." She's like, I'm not going to complain. And she turned right away. She turned inward. Hmm? But what if we live from the inside out instead of having to turn to it? That's a concept, isn't it? How would you constantly live from the inside out? By remembering the all is mind, the universe is a mental creation. If you live by that motto, or imagination creates reality, if you live by that motto, it tells you clearly every step. When you put your foot down, you put that brick there. That's what it's telling you. You don't go anywhere, you don't do anything without consulting the self first. Right? That's the whole point. And I know it seems really, what's the word? It seems difficult, because of what we do already. We tend to respond to the thing that's on the outside of us and say, yeah, but look at that situation. Yeah, but look at that situation. And we tend to allow ourselves to be bent or molded and shaped by what we see on the outside, because we do not know that we're the ones to bend and shape the exterior to match our interior. Now, whether you know it or not, that's what you're doing. So then you test something out for yourself to see if it is worth it to you. And I use that word not in the sense of money, but in the sense of, is that going to keep me pointed in the direction that I say I'm going in? Or is that going to make me deviate from that course? The only way to know is to contemplate the situation, test it out. You look at it and you weigh the pros and cons in your mind's eye. You say, ooh, that one has too many cons for me. Maybe that's not a good idea. Or you look here and you go, maybe this one is a good one. Maybe this one's better. When you begin to do that, you're building your trust in yourself, for one. You're honing your decision-making skills. But the greatest thing you're doing is creating from the inside out. Not creating from what the world says you should be, or what the world says you should be doing. They tell you by a certain age you should be doing this, or by a certain age you should be doing that. Listen, they tell us that from the time we're born. They're called milestones. And so many mothers become worried if their baby doesn't do what the milestone says at that particular time. They think their child is delayed. See, what are we doing? We're looking at the outside to tell us what to do. But if you take your time and you make up your own mind based upon what you want to experience, instead of what the world says, oh, well, you're 30. Oh, look, you're 25 and you're not married. You don't have any children. Oh, you're creeping up on spinsterhood. And then what does that do to the person listening to it? They get bent out of shape. They listen. Those insecurities come raging in. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm this? What if I'm not? What if nobody wants me? Oh dear. See what we do? That's what happens when you allow yourself to be moved by the outside. If you create mentally what you want to experience, you will mitigate all of those things. They will have no control over you. None whatsoever. You will not find yourself in a situation where you say, but that person is better than me. You will know, wait a minute, each individual has God within them that they must express. How can I be like them? You can't. And you'll know that. You have your own unique expression. And what it will cause you to do when you know this, you will commit to your unique expression without comparison to someone else, because you'll know that person is only expressing God within them. We're only ever expressing one thing, and that is God. But the way I do it is different from the way you do it because, hey, we grew up in different parts of the world, different cultures. We ate different things. All of that contributed to our quote unquote personality. We have our individual nuances. This is what it is. So then, how can you compare yourself to someone else? We only do that because we're living from the outside in. Oh, I'm going to say it to you another way. We always live from the inside out. Always. There's no way around that. Whatever your mind's eye, whatever you have in there of yourself is how you're going to live. But it looks like you're living from the outside. It looks like you're allowing the outside world to influence you. When in actuality, you've picked up certain attitudes, certain habits you've developed. And we only ever develop them on the inside. William Blake said it best. The world on the outside is but a shadow. And we put it there. But it looks like we live from the outside. That's what it appears to look like. Listen, this is how flawless the law is. You're doing it and you don't even know. That's how flawless it is. It's seamless. Coming and going. Remember, cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. So that's why it looks like that we live from the outside. Because the cause and the effect it's one thing. So you can't even tell the when one becomes the other. Well, you'll see it by the experience, by the effect on the outside. You'll see it. But the cause. Sometimes we say, well, what's the cause? You. You're the cause. But you see, it flows so well and so beautifully that we are convinced, that's not possible. This thing happened and I reacted that way. No, you have a mental image of yourself. You created the experience and then reacted to the experience. That's what you're doing. So then you're asking yourself these questions of, is it worth it? The only person who can answer that question is you. What value are you giving to it? What value exactly are you giving to this life that you have? It's meant for living, really. We're always being. We can't stop being. But test it out. Test it out. Instead of, is that thing possible? The very fact that you can have the image in your mind is what makes it possible. Without an image to recreate, in other words, without knowing the self, how are you going to recreate the self? You've got to know yourself. Daddy always used to say that to me, man, know thyself. And I'm like 6. And I'm like, man, know myself. I'm like, are you okay? But he's true to his word. But you see, we tend to know ourselves by way of what someone says we should be. That's how we tend to know ourselves in the very beginning. My mother said I should be this. My father said I should be that. My grandparents were famous for this. My grandmother says, no, she'll be a preacher. My grandfather said, no, she's going to be a lawyer. I do both things. Teach the law all day long. Right? So it's not that you have to rely on someone else for your validity. It's that you must know that you are already valid. And I know that's tricky because humanity doesn't even really know its origins. But you don't have to know your origin. What you know is the law. Why? Because the origin can be tainted, it can be masked, it can be influenced, it could be diluted. But the law, it is what it is. If you're secure in the law, then you don't worry, you don't fret. You walk with a certain level of boldness, of Neville says brazen impudence. You walk with that level. Why? Because you know that when you say, let there be, or I am that, well, it has to. Well, that's what you know of yourself. But you don't know it because I tell it to you. You know it because you practice it and you develop it. That's how you know a thing. Now, here's where empathy comes in. I don't have to go through trauma to know that trauma is bad. I don't have to. I don't have to experience trauma to know that it's bad. You have an imagination for that. We call it worst case scenarios. See what we do? So you've already seen it there. Why would you persist in that? The things that you are intentional about learning, how to become your best self, or how to allow your best self to emerge. It's a better phrase I would use. Allowing your best self to emerge. It's already there. You don't have to make it. It's already there. Again, it's just because we think we're living from the outside in that we don't see our own greatness. We think we've got to work it out. No, accept your greatness. Accept it. Accept it. That's what we do. You accept it. And once you accept it to be true, you will see it. Nobody has to tell you that you're great. If you would accept it for yourself, you would see it. That's what I mean when I say, is it worth it? Well, then you decide if it is. Right? We allow the opinions of other people. If you say you want a house on the hill, you want an acreage, you want a farm, if you say that to yourself, that's what you want and that's what you would like to experience, then experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if you had what you wanted. What's the first thing you would do? Who's the first person you would tell? What would a day be like? That's what you do. But instead, we hear things like, yeah, but I ain't got no money in the bank. That's what you hear. Or, well, that's so big. How you gonna do all of that? What if something happens to you? That's a great idea, but and then what happens? We end up being discombobulated in our own minds. We end up, as my granny would say, running from pillar to post, trying to figure it out. Yeah, but I really want to do it, but this person said, who's freaking out? You are. And when you start freaking out, what happens? Oh, now we end up in a state of anxiety. We were fretting and we're worrying and second guessing ourselves because of simply what we heard from the outside. If you do not want someone's opinion, Don't ask for, here's the thing. Don't ask for somebody's opinion. What should I do about this? Hmm? Why would you why would you pick up the phone and ask somebody that question? Who should you ask it to? Lay on your bed and commune with yourself. Huh. What is the best course of action? I wonder what I should do. What are your thoughts? Remember, Neville says, talk to yourself like you're talking to somebody else. Like there's two of you. There's only one, because you're the one laying on your bed, right? Is there somebody else next to you? When you sit there and you commune, it's just you. Let me bounce this idea off of you. What do you think about this? You're doing that to yourself. And something beautiful happens when you practice doing that. You learn the sound of the still small voice within. That's one. Two, you learn how to trust yourself. You learn what inner peace feels like. Oh, see how beautiful it is? That's what you do. And then when you get up from that quiet moment, aka meditation, it doesn't always have to be lotus position. Just commune with self. And you notice how that one thing that you're seeking to comprehend is the only thing in the mind's eye. It crowds everything else out. You have a singular focus. You feel yourself and then you feel it. See? Meditation. I keep telling you, meditation happens naturally. It does. Because we are constantly speaking to ourselves. So today, what's it worth to you? Neville, I like the way he said it when he says, look, we want to wait for something to occur so that we can scramble around and try and figure it out. Oh, what do I do about this? Oh, what do I do about that? Listen, we're all, if you practice that, you will always have a fire to put out. You'll always have a problem to solve if you do it that way. But if you go within yourself and you say, look, oh, what's the best course of action? What would I like to experience here in this situation? Then you're constantly moving from the inside out. And then your life appears to be simple. For those who are curious and they're onlooking and they're just standing aghast with their mouths wide open, how are they doing that? How come their life looks so easy? Because you have taken your life by the reins and said, hey, I live from the inside out. I create. I am the cause. I am that. That's what you're doing. So then you will recognize that whatever the experience is that you want to have is worth something to you. You are worthy, not because I say you are worthy. Look at what we've been given the capacity to do. We've been given the capacity when you learn the law and deliberately, we've been given the capacity to deliberately create our lives instead of being at the whim of somebody else creating their life and you are the pawn in the mix. We all play our part. I met a beautiful person yesterday. She slid into my DMs. I've never met her before. And she says, oh, it's so good to meet you. And of course, you know how I am. I'm like, okay, but who are you? Because I'm like, you just don't know. But it turns out, she says, listen, I just love your podcast. I love that we're on the same wavelength. I didn't even stop to ask myself, I wonder how she found me. Why would I ask that question when I already know the answer? Every cause has its effect. Every effect its cause. As above, so below, as within, so without. Yes, that's how. That's exactly how. Aren't any coincidences? None whatsoever. Not a single one. So what's it worth? What's it worth? Getting up in the morning? Sometimes I don't always know what to share. But when I get up and I'm like, what words are you gonna sprinkle on my tongue this morning? What are we gonna do here today? And I know exactly what to do. Right? Why? Because getting up every day and teaching these principles is worth more than I can put words to. Why? Because it is important that humanity learns it and changes their lives. Yeah, but Angela, you can't change the whole world. Well, what does the law say? There's none but the self, right? The universe is a mental creation. So long as I change me and mold and shape myself, well, then the world conforms, is it not? Who is the world made up of? Individuals. So, how do you change the world? One individual at a time, starting with the self. Period. So I don't feel overwhelmed by the world because I am the world. I know you just sang it in your head just as I did, but I can't sing it here. Right? So I trust that mm, I'm gonna yes 808. Sometimes the comments from other people can be challenging to ignore. Sometimes. But if you're looking out into the world, meaning you're living from the inside out, you will know the root of that comment. Each person is in their own state, and they must act and behave according to the state that they are in. They can't do any differently. So when you see that, you say, I know what's going on there. You're in a state, aren't you? And then how can it hurt you? They're in a state, so it can't hurt you. But it tells you what kind of pain they're in. And so, what's the next best thing you can do? Raise them. Raise them from their low state. Well, how do you do that? You inhale and you exhale and you say, peace be unto you, my brother. Peace be unto you, my sister. Peace. And you keep it moving. You don't have to say it to them. Oh, but Angela, you're so kumbaya. Well, it's only when we forget ourselves. It's only when we forget ourselves that we respond to the comments and we're hurt by the comments of other people. Right? But that's the only reason why. Right? So today, my beautiful friends, what is it worth to you? Remember, you're the one who gives things value. Whether or not your neighbor thinks it is worthy, what is that your concern? No, it's not. It's not your concern what somebody else thinks about you. What your concern is, what say you? What do you think we should do when you're communing with yourself? What's the best course of action? Only you know what's best for you. You know that whole phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink? Because only the horse knows when it's thirsty. So how can I sit here and tell you what's best for you? There's only one thing I can say. Learn the law and apply it on a daily basis, and you'll change your life the way you want it to be. Or if you don't, you will remain as you are. It, I, I don't make the law, yeah? I'm just governed by it. So, what is it worth to you? You're the one giving everything worth and value in your experiences. You are, not me. This is why Neville says don't give advice. Simply give the good news. And the good news is the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. So whatever you're looking at in your mind's eye with any kind of passion, and you say, ooh, yes, I'd love to experience that. You roll up your sleeves and you start to see it in your mind's eye. You see how powerful you are? Hmm? Do you see how powerful you are when you start practicing that? And you'll notice also that you don't ever wield it against anybody. You don't manipulate anybody. You don't try and bend somebody to do your bidding. Heavens, you don't come at it from that perspective at all anymore. Do you know why you don't? Because you've started to practice something very important. When you come across someone and they're hurting, they'll tell you. Sometimes with words, sometimes with actions, but they'll tell you. And if you would stop for a moment in your mind's eye and see them as not hurting and just go on your way, you don't have to speak. It doesn't involve words at all. It involves an image. See them as their best self. Or you can say peace be unto you or health be unto you, depending on what you see. And you keep it moving. Because you know why? Whether or not you ever see them again, it is irrelevant. As long as you know what you've done, you've elevated someone so they can be their best selves, then why would you see? It is doing that. Love your neighbor as yourself, and you will find that you don't have to beat anybody down so you can be elevated because you already know you're elevated, but they are also elevated. But you've got to see it as being worthy. You understand? It is worthy because you are the one who gives it its worth and its value. If you don't see that value there, well, that's how you're going to behave. It'll be meh. It'll be, oh, whatever. That's what it'll be to you. But all the while, you'll still be wanting it to be worthy. So we end up in a state of frustration. So, whatever that thing is in your life today, as you lay there or you lean back and you say, you know, I would like to experience dot dot dot. What do you think that would feel like? What would that be like? And you just sit there and you allow that to just fill your whole mind. And right there, right then, you are meditating. You see, this is what this is why I appreciate Adrian. He said it was already there. You just have to step into it. Neville Goddard said the exact same thing. All states exist already. You, on the other hand, when you walk into the state and you inhale and exhale, you give it life. And once you give a state life, you are now going to behave according to that state. If the state is peace, when you walk down the street, even if your shadow is cast, the person who walks in your shadow will feel peace. If, on the other hand, you embody a state of turmoil and agitation and frustration and rage, when you walk down the street, they'll feel it just by your shadow as well. So you see, that's what we do all day, every day. So which one? Which one would you prefer? I'll take peace, thank you. I'll take peace. I'll take inner peace any day. Because you know, when I put my head on my pillow, I don't need to be tossing and turning. Listen, there's 8 billion and some in the world. I do not need to take on the problems of anybody. But what I do get to do is to sprinkle the solution everywhere. It's much better to be able to sleep peacefully. That's the whole point. You have that within your control, your power. So what's it worth to you to maintain that on a daily basis and not deviate from it? Walk in your purpose. And that purpose would simply be, I'm taking it easy. I'm taking it easy. What do I want to experience? And you just begin to play around with it in your mind's eye. Don't worry about the opinions of others. Everybody doesn't have to know your business. They don't. Do you know your business? Then everybody knows. Because, see, as long as you know your business, that's it. That's how much. When I say to you today, what is it worth to you? Is it worth it? You get to decide that. But we run around and we think, well, you know, what's the point anyway? What do you mean, what's the point? The point is to live life and to live it abundantly. Not just financially, but emotionally. Right? Emotionally. All of those things contribute, cause and effect. They contribute to your well-being. Listen to those words again. Your well-being. So you're a being, and would you like to be well? Okay, then. Get into your mind's eye, and that's where you live from. Inside there. Because you're the one painting the picture. You're the one. There's nobody else. And the more you practice doing that, experiencing in imagination what you would experience in reality if you were the man or the woman you said you were, well then, you will know exactly how your life will go. Well, of course you will. As I told you before, there's that very small window between the trigger and the way you react to the trigger. And you know you don't want to do it anymore. Well, then choose a better behavior. And the moment you select that behavior, you'll begin to see it in your mind's eye. Oh, wow. I did. I did this. But you've got to be bold and do it. But Angela, what if I mess up? Every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. You cannot mess up. When you see the outside experience and it doesn't quite match what you said you wanted, change the cause. What's the cause? The imaginal act. So how can you get it wrong? You can't. You're only ever going to show yourself what you're thinking on the inside. So if the outside doesn't match the inside, if you say, "Oh, but you know, I'm 80% there." Okay, go back. Test it again in your imagination. And when you see it as 100, now you do it. But don't complain that you're 80%, because then you stay there. Just modify it until, well, how do you modify? What is the ideal thing in your mind's eye? Can you see it? And once you see it, just simply see it. Oh, that's nice. I'd like to do that. Done. But don't see it in your mind's eye and say, well, I don't know if that's possible. Maybe. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? It's like a chalkboard. Just erase it and start over. Erase it and start over. Be more gentle with yourself. You can only get it right because the inside is going to be matched by the outside. That's how you'll know. So you're always going to get it right. So you might as well start practicing. You might as well. Because what is the other alternative? Hmm. Well, Neville says if you don't accept that you are the new man that you want to be, then you will remain the man that you are or the woman that you are. And we know we don't want that. We want to be better, don't we? Well, accept it. Accept it. Say, oh, snap, why, thank you. I am, aren't I? Yes, you are. And that's how you'll know what it's worth to you. The thing you give your attention to. Let us take a brief moment now to welcome everyone into the space this morning, because I shan't keep you long. I shan't keep you any longer. It's symmetric. Love troll, baby. Hey, Twitter. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Facebook and YouTube, who's here? The better man. Rone says, hey, I'm getting this lesson with ease. Thanks a million. Yeah, but of course, darling, of course. Of course. And we have Checkmate, A Not, and Jeff. And for the others who've not made themselves known in the chat on YouTube and Facebook, I see you. Fanbase, who's here? B Mo Flocka is in the house. Yes. It's good to see you. Dawn is here. Fawn is here. Joaquin, Flo smiles. And Marquise. I'm just looking at my phone. Mansa's here. 808. KZ's in the house. Shea Butter. Oracle Treehouse. They're all in the mix today. Listen, I love each and every one of you. I truly do. And that's why I'll tell you, King Thoy was here. Am I missing something? Because I remember I saw him. Oh, let me read this comment. Flo Smiles says, I'm so proud of myself now. And I get better and better every day because the other way had my blood pressure. Yeah, oh, all right then. See it? You want to know how to lower your blood pressure? Practice being the person you want to be. Well, then it gets rid of the anxiety. Listen, I keep telling you, your body responds to your mental stimulus. You might doubt me, but let your girl or your fella put on something or not put on something, and all your mind's eye is like, wait, what? So the body responds to the mental stimulus. But sometimes, listen, sometimes I have to be graphic because you think I'm crazy or I'm making it up. And I'm telling you, you walk around with anxiety or anger for a long time, and you let me know what that blood pressure is going to be like. Oh, yeah. But then you go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you blood pressure medication. It ain't got nothing to do with the medication. It has to do with what you are thinking day in and day out, if you catch what I'm saying. Your body will respond because it has to. It is the law. And that's exactly it, Flo Smiles. When you begin to recognize what anxiety actually is, it's a state. We're sitting here and we're like, oh my God, what if this happens? Oh my God, what if that happens? What if this person doesn't like me? And you wonder why sometimes we can't even leave the house? Or you wonder why we have to walk with a brown paper bag? But that would be why. Look at the chaos in the mind. Learn to still the mind by giving it one thing to do. Become aware of one thing. 808 says, damn, well, drag me then. No, baby girl, ain't got nothing to do with dragging you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, this is what we do to ourselves on a daily basis in the world. It's what we do because we don't know that we are only ever living from the inside out. That's why we do it unconsciously. We think that the thing on the outside just appeared, when in actuality, it was our thoughts that brought the thing on the outside. And because we don't know that we can change the thing on the outside by changing the way we see it on the inside, we allow the thing on the outside to rule us. See? Well, this is what it is. That's what it is. And listen, every time you make an accomplishment in the change of who you and you see yourself becoming the one you say you are, you better throw some confetti. You better pat yourself on the back. Do you know why? Because you are beginning to see the evidence of what is inside of you now. And you can compare and contrast to what it used to be like. This is why Neville Goddard says that you can use the technique. Man, I remember when. Because for you to remember when, it means you are no longer like that anymore. See? Man. 808 says she needs to go find Jesus again. Look in the mirror and you'll see Jesus. Oh. Incoming bird song. I heard him. Yes. But listen. You just got to make sure that you're living from the inside out. Which means puberty, voice crack boy. You've got to make sure you're living from the inside out. He is the perfect example of living from the inside out. We are so used to him singing his morning song. His morning song has nothing to do with me. Listen, his morning song is totally his internal expression. I can't stop him from doing it. I can't. So that's how you live. What is that internal expression? It is there naturally, and it is to create by way of our imagination. That's what it is. Marky used to spring chicken has risen. I'm just in the chat right now, so I. Right? Hey, Mozinga, our resident etymologist. So you see, my beautiful friends, everywhere you turn, the whole world is telling you to live from the inside out. You got the rooster who sings his song every day from the inside out. You plant a seed. Life has to emerge from that seed. But we want to live from the outside. Right? Fawn says, oh, she loves to hear him because it reminds her of when she lived in Virginia as a child. You see? You see what it does? It invokes a memory. And the memories, that's where we live from. Because the memory is now imaginary. Oh, sure, you remember that it happened. But remember the unjust steward. Remember the unjust steward. Your body is keeping record, which is your memory. Revise that memory and make it conform to something beautiful instead. Well, 808. You see, the rooster, he doesn't rely on external validation. He doesn't. He really doesn't. Again, if you look around, you will see how to behave. He doesn't rely on external validation. He just sings his song. Well, then, 808, you don't need external validation. Just open your mouth and sing the song when you are moved. Because he was moved. Something moved him. If he wasn't moved, he would not crow. So what's moving you? Anyway, listen. The Oracle chicken. You guys got me cracking up in here today. Oh, sweet Jesus. Bobakar, I see you. Listen, let me get this bowl. When you hear the bowl this morning, remind yourself, I am. Even if those are the only two words you say as the bowl plays, I am. Just do that. And they say, well, I am what? I'm that. Yeah, that's what you do. So let's get the bowl. And I just love you. I, those words, like, God. Sometimes the words are so inadequate to convey. Sometimes, really and truly, the words are inadequate to convey what I want to. So just hear the bowl. And I am. That's all. Don't say anything else. Don't think anything. Put the mind solely on I am. That's it. I am. I am. Let me get this stuff positioned so that everybody can hear the bowl. Make sure volumes are all the way up. And go here and we can do this. There we go. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. Twitter, you know I love you. I will see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the lecture. Bubakar, it's metric, love troll. Enjoy your beautiful day. Enjoy it. I love you. Twitter is closed. YouTube and Facebook, I see you. Mozinga, the better man, Rone, checkmate. A not, Jeff. And for the others, again, who've not made themselves known in the chat, I see you too. Enjoy the beautiful day. And remember, if you are a YouTube or a Patreon member, get your questions in before Thursday, and I will make a video answering those questions. Yeah? Okay, peace out, YouTube and Facebook.